Let's shift gears now to business. President Bola Tinubu has approved the appointment of new members of the management team of the Federal Government of Nigeria Power Company Limited. The new appointment is contained in a statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Mr. Jurin in Abuja. He said the appointment is in recognition of the role of power supply in driving enterprise and industrial development and part of a comprehensive effort to reform the power sector and ensure energy security for Nigerians. Members of the new board include Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Kenny Anowe, who has been reappointed, and Company Secretary and Legal Advisor, Professor Maman Lawal, Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Julius Olabi, among others. With the new appointment, the new team is expected to work for the realization of the core objectives of the Presidential Power Initiative in close collaboration with Siemens Energy. Elsewhere, Organization of a Petroleum Exporting Country has called for the phasing out of fossil fuels, which threatens the model on which oil and gas producing countries' economies are built. OPEC Secretary General Mr. Hetman Oigai said he's at a meeting on the sideline of the Energy Summit in Abuja. Helen Osamide-King's report.
Over the years, there have been calls for the need to transit from fossil energy to renewable energy. These calls have gotten different reactions from different quarters around the world, including the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. OPEC believes that focus should be on decarbonization and reducing emissions around the world rather than pushing the narrative for one source of energy, which they say will lead to an energy crisis in future. The Secretary General says the demand for oil will grow to 116 million barrels per day by 2045, and with the projected population growth in the world, it will be misleading to call for the replacement of one source of energy with another.
And we believe that, yes, coal consumption will decline and renewables will accelerate as the world keeps pushing rapidly towards achieving lesser emissions and lower emissions, where renewables will play a bigger part in the energy equation. However, renewables are starting from a very low base today and will rise at a very high pace. Nevertheless, oil will remain a fundamental cornerstone of supplying the world with all its energy requirements.
The organization seeks for more investment in oil, following the huge projection for the demand of the...
Our outlook shows that the oil industry alone will require $14 trillion, 14 trillion with a T, from now to 2045, for the full value chain in the oil business, with its upstream, midstream, and the downstream sectors.
The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries is established to enhance the cooperation of leading oil-producing countries in order to collectively influence the global oil market and minimize profits. With increasing calls to phase out fossil fuel, which are considered to be dangerous to the environment by causing climate change and releasing pollutants that leads to earthly death, the need for a clean energy transition is now a global emergency. But OPEC has its reservation. Helen Osamide-Kings, TVC News, Abuja.
According to latest monthly Purchasing Managers Index by Stanbic IBTC Bank, the headline index in the country declined to 51 last month from 54.5 in January. Readings above 50 signal an improvement in business conditions, while those below showed deterioration. Business activity in the country dropped to the lowest in 3 months, largely on the back of the weakness of the naira. Also, intensified price pressures in the private sector caused business confidence to drop to the lowest on record. In the meantime, international airlines have opened cheaper ticket inventories for travelers from Nigeria following Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority interventions. This development comes as a result of successful negotiations conducted by the NCAA with international airlines operating within Nigeria. The foreign airlines that have opened their lower ticket inventory include KLM, Egypt Air, Ethiopian Airlines, British Airways, among others. Earlier, Air Peace had crashed its airfares ahead of its inaugural flight to Gatwick International Airport, London, from the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos. This change is attributed to the strategic meetings led by the Director General of Civil Aviation, Captain Chris Najomo, on February 12 and 13, which were specifically aimed at negotiating more affordable airfare rate from foreign airlines for Nigerians. The UK spending watchdog says the cost of Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's plan to send asylum seekers to Rwanda could exceed £580 million by the end of the decade if the controversial scheme comes into force. The figure, which includes a payment to Rwanda of up to £500 million and £80 million in operating and set-up costs, is likely to raise further concerns about the value of a policy that has attracted fierce criticism from charities, right groups, and opposition member parliament. However, the scheme has been stalled by legal challenges, and no one has been relocated there yet.
This scheme will cost the taxpayer over £500 million just to send 300 people to Rwanda. That is less than 1% of those arriving in the country. It's a cost of about £2 million per person. This is a shocking revelation in this report that they've tried to hide. We should be investing that money in boosting our border security, in going after the criminal smuggler gangs instead.
Our news reaching us that the Central Bank of Nigeria has revoked the operating licenses of 4,173 Bureau de Change operators, citing non-compliance with regulations. The CBN invoked its power under the bank and other financial institutions to that's Institution Act 2020 at November 5. And the revised operational guidelines for Bureau de Change Operator 2015. This development was displayed on the CBN website. I will bring you more details and more news as the event unfolds. Away from there now. Away from there now, in China, the latest factory survey shows that manufacturing activity in February contracted for a fifth straight month, raising the pressure on policymakers to roll out further stimulus measures as factory owners struggle for orders. Purchasing Managers Index fell to 49.1 in February from 49.2, and in January below the 50 mark, separating growth from contraction in the line, with a median forecast of 49.1, while non-manufacturing PMI, which includes services and construction, rose to 51.4 from 50.7 in January, marking the highest reading since September last year due to robust activity during the New Year holidays. The world's second biggest economy has been grappling with subpar growth over the past year amid a property crisis, and as consumers hold off spending, foreign firms divest, manufacturers struggle for buyers, and local government contend with huge debt burdens. And crude oil prices edged up earlier today and were set to end the week modestly higher as market awaited an OPEC Plus decision on supply agreement for the second quarter and deferring demand indicators for key consumers in the U.S. and China. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude rose to sell at $78.88 per barrel with an upsurge of 0.79%. Brent crude futures also experienced an upward price margin of 0.85% to sell at $82.61 per barrel. And Bonnet Life sales at $85.33 per barrel with an uptick of 0.35%. And for the OPEC basket, crude oil dealers are offering $82.01 per barrel with a price decline of 0.01%.